What
Recording in
science,
progress.
technology, and innovation solutions can contribute towards mitigating some of the most pressing sustainability challenges facing the urban socio-technical systems? The second question, what can government leaders and other stakeholders do to intensify the production, deployment, and upscaling of science, technology, and innovation solutions to urban sustainability challenges? Last question. What is the role of international cooperation in promoting the development and use of science, technology, and innovation solutions for sustainable urban development? To start the session, I have the pleasure to invite Mr. Angel Gonzalez Sanz, Head of Science, Technology, and ICT Branch, Division on Technology and Logistics at UNCTAD, to introduce the report of the Secretary General. You have the floor, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to present the report of the Secretary General under the agenda item on science, technology, and innovation for sustainable urban development in a post-pandemic world. I'm also grateful for the valuable contributions from 18 member states and 7 international organizations that we received for this report. Distinguished delegates, urban areas continue to expand and will absorb most future population growth. 2/3 of the global population will live in urban areas by 2050, with Asia and Africa urbanizing fastest in the next decade. At the same time, for the last 2 years, urban areas have become pandemic epicenters. Up to 90% of the COVID-19 cases worldwide were reported to be in urban areas. The global economic crisis and job losses caused by the pandemic hit urban areas the most, widening existing inequalities and aggravating urban poverty. The pandemic also provided important lessons about inclusiveness and sustainability issues in urban communities, which point to the need for more innovation to address development challenges in a post-pandemic world. The report identifies 12 such challenges. Some concern inclusiveness issues, such as ensuring access to quality education and healthcare systems. Others focus on environmental aspects, for example, inefficient and polluting urban energy systems. A third group of challenges examined in the report concern economic questions, such as the limited access to decent urban employment opportunities, poor housing, and growing inequality. Several of them may not be unique to urban areas, but have significant impact on urban sustainable development if they are not addressed. For example, water scarcity, natural disasters, and gender-based inequalities and violence against women and girls. In all of them, the report shows how during the pandemic, scientific knowledge production, digital technology adoption, and innovations in organizational and institutional settings have substantially contributed to address those challenges in urban settings and mitigate the impact of COVID-19. The report presents a selection of particularly relevant STI solutions, including many examples from the concrete cases contributed by member states and international agencies. Based on the discussion of those examples, the report formulates several policy recommendations, from which, in the interest of time, I would like to focus on 3. First, policymakers should seize the innovation momentum generated by the pandemic and adjust priorities and resource allocations to invest in STI solutions to alleviate unemployment and the financial difficulties experienced by low-income households and smaller firms. E-commerce provides a prime example of this. During the pandemic, people have switched to the use of e-platforms to meet their daily needs. UNCTAD data show that in 2020, the share of e-commerce grew from 16 to 19% of total retail sales. The report illustrates this with a good practice case from Uganda, where the United Nations Capital Development Fund collaborated with the main ride-hailing company in Kampala to launch a digital e-commerce platform for home deliveries during the pandemic. The platform has helped 18,000 people keep their jobs, 800 vendors to maintain revenue during lockdown, and thousands of customers to receive deliveries of food and other essential goods. The second recommendation that I would like to highlight today is that policymakers and all stakeholders need to cultivate and empower local ecosystems for urban innovation. To enhance urban sustainability, STI solutions require a people-centered focus, and they must consider local context conditions. In this regard, the report quotes examples of how this approach is used in various developing countries, such as the Dominican Republic and Kenya, and underlines the need to establish an enabling institutional and regulatory environment that promotes an open innovation culture and facilitates multi-stakeholder collaboration. Third, the report calls for the introduction of new and more equitable financing mechanisms for STI in urban development. Cities and urban communities need stronger financial capacity to support development of local STI solutions. They also need to ensure that public investment management in cities and communities is supported by policy coherence across multiple levels of governance. To support this, several countries have established dedicated zones to nurture the sustainable development of STI that promote job creation and the advancing of industrialization. Such dedicated spaces support local urban innovation ecosystems, improving the ease of doing business, providing access to finance and tax support, and creating demand for new job profiles. Distinguished delegates, to move ahead with the implementation of these and the rest of the recommendations of the report, developing countries should be able to rely on technical and financial support through international cooperation. The report calls for international collaborative actions in 5 areas in particular. First, support cross-country collaborative research efforts by establishing common strategies for data collection and analysis that can facilitate benchmarking and knowledge transfer. Second, assist developing countries in structuring long-term collaborative efforts that extend beyond single projects and consider multi-year developments. UNCTAD and several other UN agencies stand ready to support in this regard. Third, development of operational tools that consider the local social and technical aspects of STI-based sustainability transitions in order to stop the spread of one-size-fits-all mentalities. Fourth, enhance capacity building support to increase the availability of resources to scale up research development capabilities. And fifth, strengthen scientific cooperation in the field of digitally enhanced teaching and learning to provide better guidance to government leaders and local authorities. This concludes the presentation of the Secretary General report. Thank you very much for your attention.
I wish to thank Mr. Angel Gonzalez-Sanz for this introduction. Let me now turn to our keynote speaker, Ms. Maimuna Mohammed Sharif, Executive Director, United Nations Human Settlement Programs, UN Habitat. You have the floor.
Excellencies, honorable guests, distinguished delegates, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen. Before I begin, please allow me to reiterate the Secretary General's call for an immediate cessation of hostilities and the return to normalcy in the territory of Ukraine. Civilians always pay the highest price, and the UN is increasing our humanitarian support to the people of Ukraine. To the mayors and community leaders on the front line, my admiration for your courage and leadership during this difficult time. And thank you for the opportunity to present UN Habitat's perspective today. I have no doubt about the ongoing role of science, technology, and innovation as a fundamental force in transforming development to deliver sustainable, inclusive, and just human settlements around the globe. Throughout history, urban areas have been homes for various technological breakthroughs. Cities have also been major beneficiaries of a wide array of rapidly evolving technologies. At the same time, we need to understand how the vulnerable and marginalized in cities are faring in this transformative digital age. For me, there is a new urgency to use creativity, new ideas, and partnerships to solve ongoing, pressing, and complex urban challenges. At UN Habitat, our public space program has been harnessing virtual reality and gaming technologies through dynamic partnership with tech companies and local communities. The first United Nations Innovation Accelerator, UNITAC, developed in partnership with the City of Hamburg, Hafen University, and UNOICT, is pioneering technologies and applied research methods to develop innovative solutions to achieve SDG 11 and other related SDGs. In addition, our Future Cities program supports local authorities using innovative digital tools for localizing and assessing the SDGs. As all colleagues gathered here at UNCTAD reflect on how science, technology, and innovation can promote sustainable development, at UN Habitat, we would recommend the following. 1, use cities to localize digital cooperation. We must recognize the role that cities play as places where digital challenges are experienced, but also opportunities leveraged. 2, invest in digital asset and infrastructure. We must invest heavily in cities, in adequate electricity infrastructure, renewable energy, mobility solutions, and efficiency of buildings, including housing, to reduce carbon emissions and facilitate the ecological transition. Third, develop clear evidence-based policies and plans on digital assets and digital inclusion. It is critical to adopt people-centered planning and smart cities approaches based on data. It is also essential to improve public open data repositories and promote digital literacy to improve citizen engagement. Let me end by inviting all of you to the 11th session of the World Urban Forum, which will take place in Katowice, Poland from 26th to 30th June 2022. This will be an opportunity to discuss about technology and innovation that are grappling with the localization of the SDGs and the implementation of the new urban agenda. Thank you.
I thank Excellency Madam Sharif for her remarks. I now have the pleasure of inviting our panelists. Each will have 5 to 7 minutes to make their presentations. Let me start with Mr. Raphael Dubour, Secretary of Economic Development, Science, Technology and Innovation, City of Recife, Brazil. You have the floor, sir.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here representing the Mayor from campus, discussing innovation with such high-level actors, and to place Recife, my city, in the northeast of Brazil, in the center of this discussion. And thanking Mr. Ka and our honorable keynote speaker, Ms. Sharif, I extend my greetings to all panelists. Before talking about my Recife, I must start by contextualizing innovation in Brazil. In 2020, Brazil occupied the 57th position in the ranking of 132 countries in the Global Innovation Index. But this median position does not exactly reveal our complex situation. Despite being the largest economy in Latin America, we only occupy the 4th place in the region. And among the 34 emerging economies in the world, we occupy the simple 11th position in innovation. Some consider this an advance. For us here in Recife, it's still too little. What avoided Brazil's position to be even lower was our high level of business sophistication and our extraordinary human capital. But our institutions and our infrastructure are still anchors that hold back innovation in Brazil. Faced with these challenges, we need to discuss what innovation is and how the public sector should give its share of contribution. As Secretary of João Campos' administration, I especially highlight what it means to innovate in cities with hyper-complex urban environment. In the private sector, innovating means delivering distinguished goods and services that add more value to the customer, promoting a new perception of products and services consumed. In the public service, on the other hand, innovation is not aimed at a client, but at a citizen, a person who has rights and duties with their family, community, and city. In a way, innovating in the public sector means transforming people's lives, giving them hope, and revolutionizing the generation of opportunities for the exercise of their civil and political rights. In a world hangover from crisis, grieved by COVID-19, and devastated adversities such as hunger and unemployment, hope has become a reinauguration of the lives of those who suffer the most, poor people, mostly living in urban outskirts. Institutions must reinvent themselves, understand that citizens are their guides, and have them as an absolute priority. And for that, technology can be an essential ally to get closer to people and create a convergent environment between government and society. This motto inspired us to establish Recife's digital transformation strategy. However, it's useless to digitalize or automate what is currently ineffective or does not satisfactorily serve the citizen. So, to provide digital public services, the Mayor João Campos decided to rethink them from the needs of the citizen. This was the main pillar of the digital transformation strategy, materialized in the Conecta Recife app, our connectivity platform with citizens. Today, people from Recife carry the City Hall's virtual key in their pockets, which is Conecta Recife app. The app gives every citizen access to more than 150 public services and other administrative information in a simple and fast way. Yet, we are aware of connectivity issues in Latin America. Almost 1/3 of the region's population does not access internet services. There are 244 million people excluded from the digital world, which is equivalent to saying that all the people of Brazil, Chile, and Bolivia together cannot access the internet in the region. As a typical Latin American urban center, Recife is facing this challenge. We refuse to passively accept any kind of exclusion. For us, digital transformation is a gateway to social transformation. The best example was vaccination against COVID-19. We managed to transform Recife into the first Brazilian city with 100% digital logistics for vaccination. And it's good to say, we didn't invent the wheel. We just had the courage to accelerate it. When João Campos took office in the beginning of last year, Conecta Recife had 9,000 users. Today, 1.7 million citizens use the app regularly. This means that we have overcome the barrier of digital exclusion of thousands of people from Recife with hard work, dedication, and strategy, based on the premise that we need to put the citizen at the center of everything. Additionally, we created a program of public challenges called Eita Recife, with challenges involving drainage, healthcare, environment, sports, and many other challenges that the City Hall faces every day, so that we can foster startups, students, and researchers and companies to find solutions for these public problems. This is the digital transformation we seek. People are the shape of the future and the operators of digital tools, always enhancing the integration of public services. Another good example is Go Recife, our digital accelerator of job and income opportunities, with around 20,000 users so far. It is a digital matchmaking tool between workers and job positions, and also provides a digital marketplace for self-employed people from Recife. Another perspective I would like to highlight is the innovation that goes beyond technology frontiers. Innovation in which people are the engines of transformation. Innovations in public policies. In a city, especially in an extremely dense urban center like Recife, these innovations must be addressed as urban development strategies, aligned with the fundamental premises of sustainability. With the climate emergency of our time, urban development needs to move towards resilience, with bold climate mitigation and adaptation actions. As many of you might know, Recife is one of the most vulnerable cities to climate change in the world, according to IPCC reports. Thus, we have a long-term transversal strategy for the urban development of Recife, the Parque Capibaribe project. We are at full speed running some of the various stretches of what will be a 30 kilometers linear park on both banks of the city's main river, the Capibaribe River. It is the largest urban linear park in Latin America and will directly impact the lives of about 1/3 of Recife's population. The park will restore and enhance the role of the Capibaribe River in the city's dynamics by transforming its banks into parks and integrating green areas of Recife, building a true park city. We are making urban spaces more resilient and building a city for its people. It's a true urban revolution. But it's important to say, sustainable development also depends on those innovations that generate opportunities for people who do not have them. So it's our role as part of the City Hall of Recife, of such an equal city, to seek innovations and redirect efforts in public management for those in need. And education is the main path for social transformation. With this in mind, João Campos created the program called Embarque Digital, or Digital Embarkment, a policy that aligns education and employability as fundamentals of transformation. We will offer, by 2024, 2,000 scholarships for high-level ICT courses for young students, accompanied by a professional residency within the largest technology park in the country, Porto Digital in Recife. More than that, 50% of scholarships are being destined to Black students, prioritizing the portion of the population most affected by inequality in Brazil. We need to innovate to fight inequality, and this will continue to be a fundamental commitment of our government. Finally, courage is needed in the field of international cooperation for sustainable development. The desire for transformation needs to be channeled into concrete actions, which require the involvement of multiple stakeholders. Local governments and their networks are essential to drive change, but they need the support of national governments, international and multilateral bodies. We need to bring everyone to the table. We must include businesses and non-governmental organizations and speak directly to people. The people, especially young people, women, and other segments excluded from decision-making processes are the real engines of transformation. Recife is one of the main positive examples of local governments around the world taking ambitious steps. Here, we are also innovating in the way of engaging business stakeholders, for example. We created Recife Parcerias, or Recife Partnerships, the first investment promotion program via public-private partnerships in the history of our city. Our goal is bold. We will seek to raise more than $200 million by 2024 to be invested in public equipment and services with a portfolio of assets built primarily for sustainable development, including solar panels, including parks, and including energy generation by waste. We must know how to use the strengths of the private sector and understand how local governments can become drivers of this strength, creativity, and specialization. This is the way João Campos chose to govern and engage actors, whether through international cooperation or through internal convergence. We prioritize dialogue and place people at the center of everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Rafael, for that intervention. Now we call Ms. Fatima Shaheen, Mayor of Gaziantep Metropolitan Municipality in Turkey. Madam, you have the floor.
Öncelikle bütün katılımcıları, değerli başkanları, bu güzel organizasyonu sağlayan bütün herkesi şükranlarımı sunuyorum. Ülkem, şehrim ve Türkiye Belediyeler Birliği olarak hürmetle, saygıyla selamlıyorum. Çok zor bir dönemden dünya geçti, geçmeye devam ediyor. Bundan en çok etkilenenler de
very difficult period. Of course, the local development and municipalities have been affected by that. Of course, when we took the office in 2014, we had the master plan and transportation master plan and the climate master plan. As we had the climate master plan and in 8 categories, we completed all these activities, and as we are transforming economy to ecology, with all the disadvantaged groups and 500,000 immigrants, we are at the child-friendly, women-friendly municipality, and we can say that we are in the champions cities in OECD, and by EBRD, Turkey. We are one of the first cities with the green cities, and with the COVID-19 process, they had a crisis experienced 100 years ago, took place again, and in terms of humanitarian development, we know that that wouldn't be the case. The global warming, the immigration, the war outbreaks, and when we consider all of these, there should be, we wanted to take the preventive and protective measures, but absolutely there should be social cohesion, social inclusion, and we have to work on this regard. And as the UNCTAD president, and with all the union of municipalities, when we talk to them within the globe, we can say that there will be an economic crisis out of the health crisis, and of course the city economies should be kept revived, and everyone with their experiences. there needs to be a green development, and we worked on the green development, and under the leadership of the President of the Republic of Turkey, we have a strong social security institution, and with the city hospitals that we opened in the decrees, we are as the Union of Municipalities, we implemented the decrees that are published, and we can say that in such period when the costs are increasing for the disadvantaged groups, for the workers, for the students, for the women, of course, we have to provide more support. This is what we have observed. And in Turkey, the infrastructure, the municipality style has come to an end. There is a social municipality perspective, and of course, all the people who are in need, all the social inclusion groups are involved in the system, and no one is left behind. And of course, this value and the cultural municipality is something that we've been implementing, and this is our strength and power. And at this very stage, so all the activities that we have, we are conducting the implementation, and this in order to work on the city economy, we made a measurement, and in the economy plan, so we wanted to be the clean energy. We have to manage the clean energy, and of course we are aware of the renewable energy, and Turkey with the solar energy, with hydropower plants, and with this solar energy, Turkey has made important investments, and there are regulations in place. The private sector has made an investment, a huge investment in the renewable energy, and the renewable energy rate is now given to people. There are the solar energies on the rooftops, and with the solar energy activities that we conducted, so we established the energy incorporation. If we cannot be effective, we cannot be digitalized, and of course we have to keep up with the pace with the 21st century, and there should be digitalization and efficiency, and of course with the technology they have to work. And there is a smart transportation, smart irrigation, smart waste, smart food. These are the when we look at what's going on in Ukraine and Russia, we know that every country should be self-sufficient in agriculture, and when they cannot, when the cities are not self-sufficient, there is a higher energy demand, and there needs to be additional investments in this regard. So the activities we started in energy, we are working in transportation, and we are working in the bicycle transportation, and there is the bicycle roads that we encouraged, and there is the increase of bicycle use, and it is now a mode of transportation. We explained it to the public, and we started to distribute the bicycles to the youngsters, and we can say that Turkey is the first country to come up with the largest number of projects. And Turkey, with the activities of Turkish Union of Turkish Municipalities, we started distributing bicycles, and with the energy, agriculture has become more important, and the irrigatable lands and arable lands and the renewable energy, all of these have built together. We supported two artisans, we supported students, and we distributed the tablets for our students. We eased their, facilitated their transportation, and we distributed masks to the students, and of course, we rolled out the detergents, and we turned the schools into safer places. And then the parents and families, they are safe, and cities are safe accordingly. And with the investments and with the national investment in COVID-19, we matched the contacted people in COVID-19, and if they require any mask and they need transportation, we cancel their transportation cards, and then if these people sent back to their homes and there is a establishment of the infrastructure of the smart transformation, and in economic prosperity, in city planning, in the security, we provided new facilities and opportunities. And if anyone uses the information economy, and if anyone is transforming the energy, and if there is the natural gas and natural energy uses, so that will increase the competitiveness of the cities, and of course they will contribute to the country economy as well. And Turkey is a country which is a successful country, and with the vision of the president, the development starts in the local, that starts in the democracies. We conducted activities in this regard as a UNT. We are working on the healthy cities, smart cities, resilient cities, and of course there's the financial support provided as well, and there's a certain mission determined, and we have the least harm in this regard with the winnings, and we are making the sharing of the experiencing, and of course to act as a social and to work on the development. We can as a UNT, and on behalf of all the municipalities in Turkey, I'd like to salute you with respect, and I wish you healthy days ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Fatima Shaheen. Now we give the floor to Mr. Miguel Bello, CEO, Atlantic International Research Center, Portugal. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you for this kind invitation to this important event. I would like to use to share my screen for my intervention. I hope you can see my screen. And my intervention will be based, first of all, to present what is the S Center, and also to present a concrete project for sustainable urban development, which is Space Data System for Sustainable Urban Development. Well, first of all, the S Center is the Atlantic International Research Center. This is an international organization to develop scientific and technological application for sustainability. We are very much linked to the United Nations Sustainability Goals, and this is our main objective. It is already, many countries are already part of the S Center. It is African countries like South Africa, Angola, Sao Tome, Nigeria, Morocco, in America, Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, Spain, Portugal, United Kingdom. There are many countries. We're an international organization, and we have the head center in Portugal. Portugal is the promoter of the idea. We're in the Azores Island in Terceira, and we host an Earth observation laboratory thanks to an agreement with the European Space Agency, and that's helped us to develop application from the space for sustainability. This is our premises, and we have received data from many satellites. We have the Copernicus European satellite, we have the American, the Chinese satellite. We receive for that to develop such an applications. But we also manage our own satellite. We have co-proprietary of very high resolution satellite, UNCTAD-1 and UNCTAD-2, which is the two first Portuguese satellites. We're doing many actions for sustainability. Those are, for instance, images of the La Palma volcano eruptions, and that we can help into this natural disaster. Those are fires in Portugal, fires in Spain. And what we propose is to develop a space data system for sustainable urban development. Where we are facing now, SDG 11 has important challenges, which is polluting energy system, unsustainable production, water scarcity, traffic congestion, and all those problems can be tackled from space. A space technology can bring solution for that. In particular, we are proposing to this commission to do a common project with United Nations to develop for developing cities, to develop such a system that we call Space Data System for Sustainable urban development. The system will consist in 5 modules. a satellite data acquisition model, an in-situ data acquisition model, a data center, application, and capacitation and training. It has been said this morning by the previous speaker that capacitation and training is quite important. And the combination of those 5 modules will bring us the capability to monitor and to help for urban sustainability. The data acquisition module, then the plan is to receive data from all available satellites. There is a huge set of satellites which provide valuable data. We will set up a data receiving antenna on the city to receive data from up to 6 data broadcast satellites, from NOAA, from NASA, in the States, and from China. We will receive also Copernicus data, which are free and available for the European Commission. All these will give a unique capacity of data. And in the future, we are planning to launch an Atlantic constellation of 16 satellites that will be ready in 2025. That means this module will receive all those data for the application. This is the Atlantic constellation that will work so that we can get very frequent data. Every 2-3 hours, we get data from space for urban city development. And the in-situ data will complement. We cannot do just space data. We need to calibrate with in-situ in the cities, on land, and also in water with underwater sensor, with water sensor and land sensors. It is very important a data center module. This will combine the space and in-situ data, and we will define data model, data cubes. We will define which are the servers, and we'll define the application. And that the idea is to set up such a data system on the developing cities. Together with a data model. This data model will have a data lake with all this is collected, and different users can use it. Different users, which can be universities, research center, or even industry with different level of access. I mean, a web interface or a direct application for software to software machine. But the important thing are the application. What are the applications for the cities? The idea is to define 5 different lines of application: urban planning, water quality and scarcity monitoring, urban air quality, waste management, and vulnerability to natural disaster. For urban planning, we can monitor the urban sprawl and the peri-urbanization processes. We can support urban cartography, detect illegal construction, identify risk in new populated areas, identify new settlements, report land activities, and to manage urban green areas and water bodies. This is an example of Barcelona, for instance. You can get very precise data, high resolution up to centimeter, very frequent. That's Beijing, that's Moscow. I mean, we can do very high. Regarding water quality and air quality, we can by satellite detected. This is on the left side, Malaga city, and you can see this red area. This is pollution coming to waste, which has been now sent to the Mediterranean. That means that can be detected by satellite immediately. And for the air quality, this is, for instance, Saharan dust coming into the Canary Island cities. I mean, this can be easily monitored, tracked, and detected to inform the population on the quality of the air and the quality of the water. But we can also see the vulnerability to natural disasters. We can detect areas which are vulnerable to flooding, to sea level rise, or other natural hazards like fires, tsunamis. That's an image, an example of New Orleans City with the Katrina. All these are the flooded region that we can detect, which is the city affected region. We can help and support the relief teams in the fastest and easiest way. We can see which highways are available so that we can very much mitigate the effect of natural disasters by satellite data. And this should be ready at each of those developing cities so that we can do that in real time and very quick effect. This is, for instance, a volcanic vulnerability. This is a Japanese city, and we can see which areas of the city are affected by the volcanic eruptions. And the last module will be capacity training. We need capacitation and training of the people at those cities. That will be in 3 different lines. Training to manage satellites, to manage the station, training for Earth observation, and a training for expert in each of the domain. About 50 experts could be trained at each city. That's so that we can do this project and it can be evolved. As conclusions, we propose from the Center, from international group, a sustainable urban development project. Together with United Nations, the Science and Technology Committee, we can develop such a system so that we can help developing city in many important aspects that can help to get those sustainability goals. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miguel Bello. Now we give the floor to Mr. Walid Ali, President of Future Cities Council, Canada. You have the floor, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Good morning, good evening. Can you see my screen? So first of all, thank you very much for the invitation for this great event in this great day. So today I'm going to talk about future of city or cities 4.0. I'm a futurepreneur. I developed the Future City Council, Future Academy, Future is here. Let me explain for you the process of what I call future readiness process. So we watch the trend as a futurist, watch the trend, technical and non-technical trend. Then we tackle the challenges and problems, and then we come up with a solution to build a bright future. So what are the trends for cities now? As mentioned by one of the mayor in the United States, we live in the city era or the century of city. Before we have the city of empire, and then the 19th century, and then the 20th century is the century of countries, nations, and now we live in the century of cities. Why? Because of mainly two trends. The first trend is urbanization. We are 54 now living in cities. By 2050 will be 75%. And we have 50 mega cities, more than 10 million. Now we are 31 mega cities, more than 10 million living in cities. In 2050 will be 50 mega cities. And you can see, for example, Shanghai in 1987 and Shanghai, the exponential urbanization of cities. This is one trend. The second trend is by 2050 will be maybe 9 to 10 million people. And you can imagine 75% of these people are living in urban area or cities. So this trend, this major trend, will create a lot of challenges in cities. So when we are living basically too many people within the small area, this creates a lot of problems. So growth of population will create scarcity of energy, usage of energy, scarcity of water, scarcity of food. When we are too many living in city, we need more urban areas, so deforestation. When we are many people, like 9 to 10 billion, we have a lot of cars on the road, a lot of traffic, a lot of accident, a lot of disease, because when disease, like COVID, the center of COVID is the cities, because we are too many people condensated in small areas, so the disease is spread very well, and we are consuming many fuel-based energy, fossil fuel energy, and this will create CO2 emission, and this will create a global warming and the climate change, scarcity of jobs, since, and this we have seen this in Corona also, a lot of tension, a lot of crime locally and globally, and also we have, since we live in digital age, we have a lot of digital crime. So these are the main, basically, challenges or problems. I mentioned few, but we have too many, and these are caused by the trends I mentioned. Only two trends, urbanization and growth of population. Corona, what happened when during Corona time? This makes the things worse, because we have problem, we have disease, we have also so many people lost their jobs, so it's getting worse during Corona. Fortunately, and thanks to technology, we live in the fourth industrial technology, where we have a lot of technology are coming. We studied in Future City Council Canada more than 66 technology, IoT, big data, geospatial technology, digital technology, green technology, blockchain, AI, etc. And we studied how this technology can be used to tackle basically the challenges, and I have mentioned, we collected data about cities. So like this guy said, the answer is technology. What is the question? So now with technology, we can solve everything. So we have created Future City Council in Canada to develop a global database of smart cities or future cities, where we collect all the data about smart cities. We collect all the data about the technology and how they use it to tackle the challenges. We have more than, studied more than 365 smart cities across the globe, and these are mapped by technology, by challenge, by problem, by non-tech trend, by tech trend, and also they are clustered by the SDG 2030 from the United Nations. So it's a huge database, and this is what we call cities intelligence or urban intelligence, and it helps us to know what is going on in terms of technological innovation, in terms of solution, science, technology, innovation solution to solve the issues of cities. So what we have done, basically, we studied 66 future technology, as I mentioned, in 362 cities, and we through 45 sectors. You can imagine the combination of innovation, and we have put this database, and then since we have data, we can analyze and we come up with a lot of insights from this data. So what are the solutions that we need out of this data? In order to tackle cities' challenges, we need a quadruple helix. We need collaboration between governments, industry, academia, and civil society using science, technology, and innovation. And basically what we have done, we put all this online because we need collaboration. So the better way to collaborate now during Corona and post-Corona is through online platform, through technology. We developed an online platform for urban innovation where we mentioned the trends, where we mentioned the cases of city, what are the technology, and for this problem, what technology can be used. So cities across the globe can share this best practices, and here we go, we can accelerate the innovation and we can solve our problem or city's problem quickly because we share, and sharing is great. So basically this is what we do. But the most important thing I want to mention, technology innovation is a tool. The most important lesson that we have learned from our 362 plus cities is if you put the citizen in the center, the city will be livable. We talk about livable city, we talk about smart city, which is livable by the people. So the citizen should be in the center. Nowadays, we talk about cities, happy cities. You know, the agenda is increasing the quality of life of citizens, but also make them happy. So I want to conclude by saying this proverb in American song. We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. So we have to make it sustainable. So we have to make it a very good environment for life. We have to make our city livable for the next generation. And thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Walid Ali. I wish to thank all the panelists, and I now open the floor for the ministerial discussion. I have the great pleasure to invite His Excellency, Mr. Davendra Pudel, Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, Nepal. You have the floor, sir.
Chair of this program, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored and privileged having opportunity to be a part of 25th session of the Commission of Science and Technology for Development. Nepal is rich in culture and natural diversity. Politically, Nepal is divided into 7 provinces and 753 local government. Out of them, 6 are metropolitan, 11 are sub-metropolitan, and 276 are municipalities. Before going to the component of urbanization status in Nepal, let me briefly talk about the impact of COVID-19. Till today, the number of total infection is around 1 million people and total death is around 12,000. The COVID-19 Crisis Management Coordination Center, CCMC, is responsible for the COVID-19. The purpose of CCMC is to coordinate with the federal, provincial, local government and various other task stakeholders to conduct the prevention, control, diagnosis, and the treatment of COVID-19 in an integrated in systematic manner. The Minister of Urban Government is an apex body having responsibility in urban planning, where the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology has responsibility for uplifting science, technology and innovation in the country. Science urban management is a cross-cutting issue. It is being managed by the different line agencies. We have had revision in urban strategy after the devastating 2015 earthquake. We have now given emphasis on the extended health and education infrastructure development alone with more science and technology-based intervention as a strategic response to post-COVID-19 urban management. Nepal is one of the fast urbanizing countries in South Asia, with an urban growth rate estimated at 6.8%. Kathmandu Valley is the largest urban center and the most populated city of the country. The government of Nepal has developed urban development strategy 2017 with the vision 2031 balanced and prosperous national urban system. We have been investing heavily on around 30 smart and the new cities. The government of Nepal has prepared different policies, concept paper, strategy, and the project for the planned urban development. For example, we have developed concept paper on the smart cities 2016 National Urban Development Strategy 2017 and the Integrate Urban Development Project. Excellencies, I am pleased to share some achievement in urban development sector. Nepal has acquired sustainable progress in electricity supply. Along Oet River Diversion based Melamchi water supply project is going to resume the water supply very soon. We have made notable progress in water sector and well as well. We have successfully implemented a wastewater treatment plant and expanding in gradually. Nepal had developed Nepal Urban Road Standard 2020. The extension of improvement of the road is in the ongoing process. However, the improvements are not at the point with the huge inflow of the vehicle. Thus, traffic congestion is a major issue in Kathmandu. Meanwhile, we have recooperated our first railway facilities are ongoing on several railway projects for intra-city and intercity transportation. Nepal is promoting electric vehicle by the providing tax leverage on it and the developing charging station across the country. Similarly, we have also promoting electric cooking, which reduce fossil fuel dependency. The government of Nepal has given higher priority in improving health infrastructure that include dedicated service for the infectious diseases like COVID-19 with the kind support of the international communities, WHO, and with our own effort. We are now able to reach the population of more than 82% above the 18-year-old in vaccination. We have extended vaccine storage capacity and acquired capacity of mass vaccination. We express our sincere gratitude to international communities for this. The urban air quality is also one of our challenging issues. We have installed real-time air pollution monitoring station in almost all major cities of Nepal. Kathmandu Valley Air Quality Management Action Plan 2020 is being implemented. National Disaster Risk Reduction Strategy Action Plan 2018 and 2030 is also being prepared and is under implementation. Together, the government of Nepal has issued new seismic design building code 2020. In the field of education, we have assigned local government to administer a school. We have made investment in urban education through digital device and IT. We have prioritized STEM-based education from school to higher education. The main focus is on linking curricular knowledge to skill development, skill to employment, and employment to prosperity. Although we have prioritized planned urban development from very fast, still there are issues we need to address. Their inflation and cost of living, internal migration, fragmentation of land, unplanned housing, traffic congestion. Because of influx of vehicle pollution, is most of the cities are affected by the internal and external source, solid waste management and more. Excellencies, with this in mind, I'd like to thank UNCTAD for giving me this opportunity to speak few words in this valuable session. Finally, I would appeal UNCTAD to facilitate and cooperate the developing countries like us in areas of utilization of open data and open science, science and technology, evaluation mechanism, technology transfer to developing world, strengthening urban medical infrastructure and waste management. Thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you, Honorable Minister Devendra, for your contribution. Now we call His Excellency Mr. Tudu Prisicaro, Secretary of State, Ministry of Research, Innovation and Digitalization of Romania. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. I think the slides can be okay. The first one, I want to tell some of my ideas concerning the period after the pandemic. This period, which is characterized all over the world by an increased price for the energy. And due to this fact, it's clear that energy efficiency inside the cities and in the villages will be on the first place in the next period of time. So COVID-19 was quite a very big multitude of different aspects, some of them negative, many of them, but some of them were also positive. We have understood some basic principles in order to treat any other pandemic from now on. But I think many of these principles are not going together with the principles of energy efficiency. And this should be a very difficult moment due to the fact that the future urban planning should suffer very much from this point of view. You see, some of the aspects during the pandemic are written here, but I shall take only that one: energy, housing, and urban planning. The next slide, please. You see, one example, very simple example: buildings. From the point of view of energy efficiency, the higher is the density of the building, density of the high buildings, their thermal efficiency will be increased due to a less loss of heat and due to their interactions with the temperature by radiation. So for the energy efficiency point of view, this will be a very good situation, and we can see it even today, how many blocks are constructed one next to another. But for the pandemic situations, this system of high density of buildings is not a very good one at all. Next slide, please. So, due to this very huge crisis of energy which occurred, we have a big dilemma. Shall we solve all the present necessities for the future requests of energy efficiency, or shall we keep all the experience which we got during the pandemic? I think only a combination of these two paths can be, let's say, a good advice. Next slide, please. So here we can see that some contradictions between these two paths are can be presented by using this very simple example. We have already forgotten the electric bulbs worked by a filament of wolfram, tungsten, and so on, which were their disadvantages: a very low energy efficiency, but by the opposite, these electric bulbs were emitted a range of ultraviolet radiations, which can disinfect all the ambient in the rooms, in the classes, and so on. Now we have renounced for many years, and the pandemic with the virus came. Nothing was to disinfect. This is one theory for belonging to some scientists. But we have replaced these bulbs with the dielectric bulbs with no ultraviolet emissions, but high energy efficiency. How shall we solve this problem? I think, next slide, please. The problem of living, lighting, and so on, now it is solved using passive houses. But these passive houses, if we need to increase their energy efficiency, will descend deeper and deeper into the earth, like this image. Most successful passive houses are developed more deep in the earth than outside of the earth. So the light will be a very difficult problem for the engineers to be introduced in, and especially natural light, which is very important for life. We have not to forget anything about it. Next slide, please. So, shall we live in those passive houses, or shall we live in this type of buildings which are producing energy, are very efficient from this point of view? You see in these slots, a lot of wind turbines are installed, and all the buildings are trying to challenge a new philosophy of construction. Here was my point of view, that we have to reach to a new philosophy when designing and constructing a building. Not to increase too much the insulation, but to use new materials which permit to conserve the energy inside, and more than this, by their shape, to attract the light, to use the wind energy, and so on. Next slide, please. That means to restore, to revamp a very old conception, that one of aerotecture. You see in this image that aerotecture can produce energy for buildings by solar and wind, and at the same time, the aspect of the buildings to be conserved for the future, because we are living among the buildings, we are living among the cities and the villages. Next slide, please. In conclusion, I can say the key elements for a future passive house is not to be very thick and grounded, is to catch the sun, to airtight the whole construction, to have heavy insulation, but with new materials, very efficient. High efficiency windows and doors, and we can see that they are starting to create new generations of this type of utilities. To have heat recovery and ventilation, but not so complicated that they were 10 years ago, when it was very difficult to introduce the hand between the pipes to repair something, not to clean. It was nothing to say about cleaning. Solar water heating and efficient air conditioning. This should be the main principles that we can follow in the future in urban planning, in order to conserve our heritage and to be able to have also energy efficiency and protection against the future pandemics. Next slide, please. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Honorable Minister, Mr. Tudor Prisicaro. Now we give the floor to His Excellency, Honorable Minister, Mr. Douglas Letsolatibi, Minister of Tertiary Education, Research, Science and Technology of Botswana. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, Secretary General of UNCTAD, as CSTD Chair, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. May I ask how much time do I have?
You have 5 to 7 minutes, sir.
5 to 7, thank you. Mr. Chairman, let me begin by thanking you for yet another opportunity to speak at this forum. I find the theme under discussion today logically following on our last year's one, a sustainable and resilient recovery from COVID-19 pandemic. Science, technology, and innovation is crucial for sustainable development in a post-COVID-19 and more so for the urban development. Mr. Chair, there is industrialization, good roads and other infrastructures in urban areas. These attractive developments in cities come at a heavy cost, though. There is an exodus from rural that results in the cities overcrowding, deforestation, and increased erosion, as well as habitat change and loss. We also experience loss of cultural values and social change compounded by increased crime. Cities already place a huge stress on the planet's resources by emitting more than 75% of the world's greenhouse gases that are in the main drivers of climate change. Sadly, Mr. Chairman, urban areas do not deliver on the dream to provide improved livelihoods as a result of new jobs, general modernization with an upgraded built environment. A large proportion of the world's population with unmet needs life in urban areas, also forming peri-urban rings with deplorable social, economic, and environmental conditions. Mr. Chair, COVID-19 pandemic has only made things worse. Global economies and public health systems have been badly exposed, as 90% of all the reported cases globally have been in urban areas. Thus, any fruitful discussion of sustainable development should focus on urban areas and how to capitalize on their positive energy and innate diversity in forging new pathways toward urban sustainability. I am a strong proponent of applying smart solutions derived from STI to address the inherent problems of urban areas. Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen, our challenges go well beyond securing access to technologies and developing the physical and ICT structure. In Botswana, challenges include, among others, skills shortage, quality modernizing of the education and training system, building R&D capacity and coordinating R&D efforts to focus on priority areas. Our National Vision 2036 aspires for prosperity for all Botswana citizens. The current reforms are actively agitating the landscape in order to create economic diversification, new and decent jobs that benefit the youth. Mr. Chair, the national, institutional, and policy framework is steadily developing, though. The current National Strategic Master Plan of our Vision 2036, which looks at creating a knowledge-based society, is our good guiding tool here in Botswana. We have also developed policies and other instruments, some of which are directly geared towards using STIs for sustainable development. Specifically, Botswana's National Research, Science and Technology Plan of 2005, National Report on the Implementation of the Urban Agenda of 2021, and others. Botswana indeed strives to become a knowledge-based economy, and R&D in STI is taken very seriously. Key bodies such as the Special Economic Zones Authority, Botswana Institute of Technology, Research and Innovation, Botswana Digital and Innovation Hub, among others, as well as universities, are increasingly working together for synergy. My country has collaborated with UNCTAD on the review of the Botswana Research, Science, Technology and Innovation Policy of 2012. For that, we really appreciate, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the COVID-19 pandemic has pushed nations and organizations alike to create smart STI solutions for sustainable and smart cities. Governments of developing nations need to prioritize smart STI solutions that focus on improving urban sustainable development. Mr. Chairman, the Secretary General's report gives silent suggestions for the international community, and I find them worth noting. Indeed, the international organization should help nations, especially the developing economies, to recover from the pandemic effects. Cross-country innovative R&D should be enhanced. Policies should be developed across governments, and developing countries should be assisted. There should be a cross-border enhancement of capacity building support to increase response to emergency solutions. These should promote technology transfer in a tailored manner and should strengthen scientific cooperation in digitally enhanced teaching and learning and others. Mr. Chair, international collaboration and partnership are very important. What comes in mind immediately is the unprecedented global collaboration in the development and the use of COVID-19 vaccines. It must be signaled that the least developed and developing countries face the greatest challenge with STI, making it a dual challenge to deal with a sustainable urban development. Collaboration with more advanced countries dwelling on STI and R&D geared towards bringing actual sustainable solutions to urban problems will be a long way to changing the landscape. Mr. Chairman, Goal 17 of the SDGs explicitly calls for working together by all, both locally and across borders. And there's need for increased international cooperation in solving and standing and emerging problems in the urban areas. These problems are generally multi-faced and quite complex and are more advanced in countries, and robust economies should collaborate strongly with other developing countries. Technology and innovation transfer should be encouraged so that the wheel is not being continuously reinvented, but taken to another environment and adapted. To improve the collaboration, another important thing is to promote foreign direct investment. Fostering more sustainable urban features requires government and other stakeholders, together with international organizations, to reorganize the functioning of urban socio-economic systems. Mr. Chairman, I continue to commend UNCTAD for its ongoing support for the developing countries on STI policy. Like I said, for this case, in the case of our country, Botswana, who will forever be indebted to you, UNCTAD. I thank you all for your kind attention and look forward to a fruitful discussion and exchange of the experiences and good contribution during this CSTD session. I thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister Douglas Letsola-Tebi. Now we give the floor to His Excellency, or Her Excellency, Mrs. Rowena Cristina Guevara, the Undersecretary for Research and Development of Philippines. Madam, you have the floor. It's a video, okay.
Mr. Chair, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good evening from the Philippines. In 2021, the urban population in the world grew to around 4.46 billion, brought about by rapid population growth in the city and migration from the rural areas. The UNDP cited that by 2050, the urban population will be at about 6.5 billion. The concept of urbanization in the past decade revolved around transportation, energy, food, and related systems. The response to the COVID-19 pandemic inspired us to explore beyond these systems as work from home, remote learning, health telemonitoring, virtual meetings, e-signatures, and food deliveries emerge. In my personal experience, travel time today is 33% shorter than pre-pandemic. Processes in our offices have been digitized and digitalized. Technologies from R&D outputs have been repurposed and quickly brought online, thereby shortening the process of technology transfer, and new tools for urban planning are gaining acceptance among our government officials, among others. Technologies such as blockchain and data science have to be deployed amidst the digitization and digitalization of the government, the private sector, and the academia. Renewable energy, in tandem with energy conservation, has to be widespread to balance out the deferment of new power generation due to the pandemic. New technologies for addressing urban waste disposal need to be developed to manage more waste generated by the pandemic response, such as used test kits and PPEs. Excellencies, the Philippines, through the Department of Science and Technology, or DOST, continues its efforts to address the challenges of urban living in cities and communities. The DOST Smart and Sustainable Communities and Cities framework that the department formulated serves as a guide in conceptualizing and prioritizing research directed towards the development of active, vibrant, and sustainable cities by leveraging smart city solutions. It aims to fully exploit the potential of the region's talent pool and maximize the benefits of an innovation-led economy. The DOST also launched the Cagayan Valley Smarter City Belt, the first in the Philippines to spur economic growth in the northern region of the country. Lastly, the Philippines believes that ensuring food security is crucial in the post-pandemic world. In a sustainable urban setting, this may be done through vertical agriculture, pot gardening, and the use of hydroponics technologies. Excellencies, the aspect of sustainable development still needs to be incorporated in our post-pandemic urbanization. The Philippines is one with you in rising above the pandemic while working together for sustainable urban development. Thank you.
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Excellency, Ms. Rowena Christina. We now give the floor to His Excellency, the Honorable Minister, Mr. Srivari Chandrasekhar, Vice Minister, Ministry of Science and Technology of India. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you so much. I am Chandra Srivari, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. Distinguished panelists, excellencies, speakers, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to join this high-level roundtable at the 25th session of the Commission on Science and Technology for Development on a topic as timely and pertinent as leveraging science, technology, and innovation for sustainable urban development in the post-COVID world. The suboptimal housing and overcrowding of the urban world, inadequate public transport, insufficient community health care, degraded environment are all the factors which are damaging the socioeconomic strength of the cities and in total the planet. The pandemic came on top of another worsening crisis, an even bigger challenge for humanity, the climate change. The pandemic and the worsening climate change have forced us to imagine a better future for our cities and their citizens. Recent reports on climate change make it clear that climate change is worsening and the cities are the major contributors and also are the worst affected. Given the urban footprint, as mentioned by my previous speakers, and demands made on the energy and resources in the cities, urban and environmental phenomena go hand in hand and will require combined policy solutions.
It's imperative that to manage urbanization well for cities, their full potential must be realized on three important fronts: livability, economic ability, and sustainability. While services like urban mobility, affordable housing, water, wastewater management, sanitation, solid waste management, safety, health, and education respond to livability initiatives that enhance the investment on climate, increasing the jobs and breed innovation, affect the economic ability, and at the heart is the environmental sustainability. To achieve this, India has revised its national mission on sustainable habitat in 2021 to address the challenges of climate change and achieving the target Sustainable Development Goal number 11. The revised national mission on the sustainable habitat has identified 5 thematic areas: energy and green buildings, urban planning and green cover, biodiversity, mobility and air quality, water management, and waste management. The key mitigation and adaptation strategies to facilitate the development of sustainable habitat have also been recommended under each thematic area. India's unique set of opportunities need unique strategies, leveraging data and technology, to which being about a change on the ground. Allow me to share some examples of this with all of you. Through the Smart Cities Mission, an ambitious urban development program launched in 2015, 100 cities have undertaken a path-breaking journey to transform the way they provide core infrastructure and services, clean environment, and better quality of life to the citizens. In the last 7 years, the mission has grown from strength to strength, implementing over 5,100 projects worth around $26 million that are positively impacting the lives of close to 100 million citizens. India launched the National Urban Digital Mission in 2021 to support urban governments and all other interested stakeholders in solving various urban problems. Partners in this initiative include the industry associations, academia, civil society, leading global organizations, system integrators, startups, micro, small, and medium entrepreneurs. Under this mission, the shared digital infrastructure will be built in all urban centers of the country by the year 2024, an open and vendor-neutral application programming interface. Standards, specifications, and frameworks will be created for interoperability, which would allow for greater participation of all the stakeholders. The India Urban Data Exchange is an example of an open source software platform that is being developed in partnership between 2 ministries and the Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru, to facilitate secure exchange and use of data. It will provide data on a wide range of urban indicators, including those related to service delivery and urban governance, such as location of the air quality environment, monitoring sensors and air quality levels, flood sensors, weather stations, physical location of city bike stations, smart street lights, road audit information, public transit bus information, public transit real-time information, water distribution network information, real-time position of the solid waste management vehicles, etc. Another example of a very exciting data platform is the Smart Cities Open Data Portal. This is being created exclusively for making data available on 100 cities used by any person, municipal department, research institute, academia, and industry to generate insights, which would help in the development of suitable products and service building solutions. Examples of indicators on which data would be available are the zone, age, data on community health, water consumption, digital access, housing, etc. This full set of digital infrastructure and tools is to enable citizens easy access to government services and data to enable more efficient governance, to increase the ease of living as well as doing business. In other words, to empower all the stakeholders. I am certain that the deliberations we are having today will guide us in making our cities more sustainable and resilient. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mr. Srivari Chandrasekhar. We thank you. Now we give the floor to Her Excellency Ms. Monica Musinero, Minister of Science, Technology, and Innovation of Uganda. Okay, she will be, this will be delivered by Mr. Cosmos Wikirizi. Sir, you have the floor.
Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to join this high-level panel on science, technology, and innovation for sustainable urban development in the post-COVID-19 world. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic has wreaked havoc globally, but more so in sub-Saharan Africa due to our pre-existing weak socio-economic systems. In Uganda, empirical and anecdotal evidence suggests that the demographic worst hit by COVID-19 has been urban youth. To expound, Uganda has the youngest age structure in the world, with 77% of the population under the age of 30 and a median age of 16 years. We also have one of the highest youth unemployment rates in Africa, standing at 13.3% pre-COVID-19. Certainly, this was exacerbated by the pandemic, which mostly affected semi-skilled and unskilled youth. Often, the practice has been for unemployed youth to migrate from rural areas where they shun agriculture to urban areas, where they work in informal sector jobs like riding motorcycle taxis. Such jobs were severely impacted by the pandemic, and many livelihoods were left in peril. Yet, a common trait exists among all youth in Uganda. They are invariably passionate individuals, determined to fill unmet needs and deliver positive change to their communities. And cognizant of these facts, our government, led by my office, has embarked on interventions that will ensure access to decent work opportunities for all youth, with science, technology, and innovation as a central cog. To give some examples, first, we have boosted financial interventions that give seed capital or soft loans to individuals or groups of youth with innovations and businesses. We provide these youth with technical advisory on formalization of businesses, intellectual property protection, marketing, and private sector fundraising. Particularly, we're interested in cottage industries that prioritize value addition in agriculture production and agro-processing, textiles and garments, wood and metalworks, to mention but a few, since these can easily provide catchment for semi-skilled and unskilled youth. Secondly, and relatedly, we are setting up innovation parks and common user facilities in all major urban centers where young people can incubate their innovations with insignificant overhead costs towards commercialization of their products. Thirdly, we are also investing heavily in vertical and horizontal technology transfer and development to ensure local content towards sustainability of innovations and businesses with minimal disruptions from global supply chains. Mr. Chair, I want to note that our young people are challenging our traditional approaches, and to us, youth-led innovation is the key to sustainable urban development in the post-COVID-19 era. As a case in point, throughout the pandemic, we saw the traction of e-health and e-commerce platforms founded by young people. Some of these have attracted government support from development partners, as well as a foreign direct investment. For example, Safe Border, previously a motorcycle taxi service, was repurposed for home deliveries during the pandemic. Tens of thousands of new jobs were created, and motorcycle taxis, which were otherwise not allowed to carry passengers, found an alternative and more economically viable application. This momentum must be harnessed. And finally, collectively, our national priorities and policies must support and create an environment for youth-led innovation and businesses to thrive. For this to happen, we also need to foster originality of thought. This can be done by transforming our educational systems to not only focus on rewarding experience, but also on innovation and creativity. And with that, I want to thank the UNCTAD for this opportunity, and thank you for listening to me. For God and my country.
Thank you, Mr. Cosmos. Now we go to a video of Her Excellency Ms. Devika Vido, Minister of Investment, Entrepreneurship and Industry of Seychelles.
His Excellency Mr. Domingo Matias, Vice Minister of Territorial Planning and Regional Development of the Ministry of Economy, Planning and Development, Dominican Republic. His Excellency Mr. Srivari Chandrasekhar, Vice Minister, Ministry of Science and Technology, India. His Excellency Mr. Devendra Paudel, Minister, Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, Nepal. Her Excellency Ms. Rowena Cristina Guevara, Undersecretary for Research and Development, Philippines. Her Excellency Ms. Monica Musanero, Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Uganda. Ms. Mamuna Maud Sharif, Executive Director, United Nations Human Settlements Program, UN Habitat. Distinguished delegates, good afternoon. It was with great pleasure that I address you today at the 25th annual session of the United Nations Commission on Science and Technology for Development. The COVID-19 pandemic hit our country's economic and financial structures disastrously, creating numerous challenges for our people and affecting businesses of all sizes. Economic growth declined significantly in 2020 to 12.9% from 1.9% in 2019 due to the significant disruptions in economic activities. This was largely due to a significant decline in our main source of revenue from tourism activities, which plummeted by more than 60%. This situation further exacerbated existing sustainability and climate change challenges, thus exposed the vulnerability of Seychelles as a small island developing state. It therefore became evident that we urgently needed to put more emphasis on the integration of science, technology, and innovation in the national development agenda to reduce the vulnerability of our socio-economic development. The agenda addresses economic diversification and transformation of priority sectors, and the national STI policy and strategy forms the basis of it all. This policy and strategic framework is set to put into place an integrated STI governance system to ensure the integration of STI across all sectors in development programs. The benefits of such a governance system includes the involvement of government from the strategic, operational, and functional levels, including the participation of businesses and communities. It is through such a system that we shall be able to transition our economy from an efficiency-driven to an innovation-driven and knowledge-based economy by 2025. To further enhance the efficiency of our urban socio-technical systems, we are endeavoring to map our national system of innovation to ensure it is functional to create a conducive environment for innovation to thrive. We also aim to invest in our ICT infrastructure to support the digitalization of government services, and this will of course fuel the agenda which is being worked on currently towards the development of a digital economy framework. This is why we have also been actively developing e-commerce platforms and a digital one-stop shop to facilitate the ease of doing business and support digital entrepreneurship. The work to establish a marine biotechnology industry is already underway, and this will be the first for Seychelles. Furthermore, we have been engaged in promoting the use of technology in many areas and aspects, primarily in farming and in the manufacturing sector. We also look forward to the automation of operations at our commercial sea and airports, the digitization of our national health system, the automation of disaster response management systems, amongst others. For more inclusivity, through our STEM education program, we are attracting more children and women into technology to reduce the gender gap participation in SDI. Consumption in Seychelles is largely driven by imports, thus resulting in high levels of waste. It is no surprise, therefore, that the concept of circular economy is becoming more and more important in our value addition industries. For this reason, we are placing a lot of emphasis on the importance of investment in R&D for efficiency gains and wealth creation. As a small island developing state, we cannot achieve all our objectives on our own. Seychelles strives to continue sustaining SDI diplomacy to ensure regional and international collaboration in building SDI capacities and capabilities to improve the status of our urban socio-technical systems. We therefore highly value the existing collaboration with UNCTAD, UNESCO, UNIDO, and other UN agencies, as well as AUDA NEPAD, SADC, and AUC in furthering the development of and strengthening our urban socio-technical systems. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Madam Devika. I wish to take the opportunity to thank all honorable ministers for their remarks and great insights. Now we move to the interactive discussion. I will now open the floor for the interactive discussion. I already have requests for the floor. For those online, please ensure that you have raised your virtual hand so that the Secretariat can give you the floor at the appropriate time. I wish to remind everyone to keep your intervention short, 2 minutes and no more. Now I give the floor to Ms. Helena Pereira, President of the Board of Directors, Portuguese Foundation for Science and Technology, Portugal. Madam, you have the floor.
Good afternoon and my best greetings to all the participants. Cities are and have been along history seeds for humankind and knowledge development. Today, cities are very complex worlds in terms of dimension and diversity that encompass all scientific domains and involve all levels of science, from fundamental to applied aspects and to innovation, while definitively requiring action programming and implementation. Let us stress the twofold axes of technology advances and of society issue. Cities, such as this pandemic crisis have shown in times of crisis, clearly show their importance, entanglement, and need for a knowledge-based short, medium, and long-term program implementation. Technology allowed us to bring in innovative actions and quick implementation, and to collect data on multiple areas of social life and city functions, such as in consumption, mobility, energy, health, security, environment, and so many other areas. This information should be one of the bases to develop knowledge, both for the system's functioning and new developments, as well as for the social integration. Cities are laboratories where knowledge and innovation are created. The incentives to science development should therefore target these large, complex, multi and interdisciplinary laboratories. Apart from the funding of projects, and certainly several targeted project designs should be considered, we propose here a cross-cutting measure of increasing advanced formation at the doctoral level. The research work carried out under doctoral programs will bring knowledge and innovation results in the next years, will encompass the different domains, the use of available data, and necessarily increase the interactive dynamics with higher education, research entities, and stakeholders. Such programs are also sufficiently flexible to be adaptable to different realities, namely regarding the amount of funding available. Therefore, we believe they will have an impact on the technological and social architecture of cities. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your intervention. Now we call Mr. Ketipong Promwong, President, Office of National Higher Education, Science, Research and Innovation Policy Council of Thailand. And I want to remind you to please keep your remarks in 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the report on science, technology, and innovation for sustainable urban development in the post-pandemic world emphasizes the role of science, technology, and innovation, and the importance of collective action and collaboration at national and international levels to be the key for sustainable urban development. We very much appreciate the inclusion of Thailand's BCG economic development model in the report of the Secretary General. The BCG model has been employed in Thailand as a national policy to promote inclusive, sustainable growth. To address the theme of sustainable urban development, I would like to bring up 3 important components of STI policy in this direction on top of ordinary works we usually do in urban planning. Like, for example, smart cities, smart transport, smart energy, and so on. And these 3 important components include social mobility, net zero carbon emission, and health, security, and wellness. We strongly believe that science, technology, and innovation are solutions for inclusive, sustainable urban development. And those 3 important components, as I mentioned, will be incorporated in urban planning. Also, this will require strong support from the government and international partnership in terms of policy and implementation. We hope that our country experience can benefit other CSTD members. With this, I conclude my intervention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ketipong. Now I give the floor to Mr. Calvin Johnson, Deputy Assistant Secretary, Office of Policy Development and Research, Department of Housing and Urban Development, United States of America.
Good morning from Washington, D.C., and thank you, Chair, for the floor. And thank you, my distinguished colleagues, for your presentations this morning and your participation during the sessions. I bring you greetings from the HUD Secretary, Secretary Marsha Fudge, and the Deputy Secretary, Adrian Todman. In this brief time, I want to draw your attention to just a few projects we have underway here at HUD. And these projects actually align with the report submitted to the Secretary General. Specifically, I want to talk about 3D concrete printing. So HUD currently is conducting research with the Housing Innovation Lab located in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. to explore different ways of using 3D concrete printing in the construction process. Once completed, we hope that we will provide information to the industries on best practices for incorporating 3D printing in terms of concrete walls, installing doors and windows, running electrical, and attaching roofs. I also want to draw your attention to digitalization of the operation and manufacturing process. Specifically, we have a project underway with a university and a nonprofit sustainable energy company that is using simulation models to aid in the integration of lean manufacturing principles in a modular housing factory. Just specifically, we are thinking that we should be leaning in on strategies to actually integrate solar panels and battery storage during the construction process in the factory, rather than on site after the house has been erected. So that's another project. And given the time, I'm going to just mention one last project here, or two last projects here, specifically around natural disasters. In partnership with leading industry and academic experts in the field of disaster preparedness and mitigation, HUD is currently sponsoring the development of a guidebook entitled Site Planning for Disaster Mitigation that will assess lessons learned from recent preparedness planning and mitigation efforts ahead of natural disasters. As you know, we have been experiencing natural disasters in areas that we had not anticipated. So we're hoping that this guidebook will actually help communities as they plan for mitigation and preparedness activities. And we plan on working with 3 communities to test out the guidebook. And finally, in the report submitted to the Secretary General under suggestions for considerations, I want to highlight work the HUD is doing under urban digital transformation. Specifically, we serve some of the most socially and economically vulnerable populations in this country. And so we're working to figure out the costs associated with improving broadband in their homes. And so we will be working with researchers to understand not only the need for and strategies for actually increasing access to digital equity in low-income communities. We will also be assessing the needs of special populations like elderly and families with children, as well as residents in rural communities and in indigenous communities of American Indians, Alaska Natives, and Hawaiian Natives. In closing, I welcome the opportunity to engage agencies with a similar focus on housing and community development. There is so much learning we can do together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Calvin. Now we give the floor to Mr. Fernando Ortega San Martin, Director of Peruvian National Council for Science, Technology, and Innovation, Peru, and kindly keep your remarks to 2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me do my speech in Spanish. Resulta claro que la pandemia del COVID-19
increased knowledge on the immense advantages of doing things virtually.
Virtual processes in the
major
large urban centers are built based on models from the past, physical proximity of production
major
chains
urban
to
centers
value
followed
chains,
old
as well
paradigms,
as
such
proximity
as trying to locate themselves close
supply and
to
demand.
the centers of
Populations of
production and
megavilles,
within the
of
value chain.
megacities, and their
And the
development has
high
led
density
to
of
a
the population
situation
in
in
mega
which
cities led to a
value is
lower
falling,
quality of life for inhabitants and the
and
loss
due
of
to
affordability
legal
for
norms as
businesses
well, which
because
are
of the
more
high
strict
cost
in terms
of
of
rent per
environmental
square
regulation.
meter
We need to
and
find a
rigorous
balance between
legal
well-being
standards for
of the
protecting the
population and the
environment in the
constant
urban
increase
center.
and development of science, technology, innovation.
To
They are
find
becoming
the
fundamental
appropriate balance
tools, the
between
only tool
well-being
that
and the
governments and
continued
societies
increase of
have in order
competitiveness,
to
science,
identify
technology, and
and
innovation
adapt
have become the only tool that
for sustainable
governments and
development.
societies have to
This is the
identify
fourth
and provide
technological
more viable
revolution.
alternatives. In this particular
have
moment of
immense
history, when
potential.
we're going through this fourth technological revolution,
Nanosciences,
we are faced with the immense
biotechnology,
creative
and other
potential of the
areas of
convergence of
science.
nano, bio, info, and
Global
cognitive
technological
technologies, which is
centers
allowing university
developed
laboratories and
over,
centers of research
over
across the
1,000
world to
different types of
develop more than
technology. Many
1,700
of these
different
technologies could
technologies,
truly transform the world in
many of
which we
which,
live.
if they're successful, can truly transfer the world that we live in.
Are not
We're not on the
standing
cusp of a new
before
technological
new wave
wave,
of technology.
but
We're in the middle
rather
of a tsunami
a
of
technological
technology.
tsunami. Against this
Governments
backdrop,
should
it is incumbent upon governments to encourage scientific research and technological development in order to ensure that the knowledge divide cannot continue to broaden, but rather, as governments, we need to establish priorities for developing such technologies based on ethical principles and common good. For example, we must bear in mind that one of the major problems in developing countries are unemployment and underemployment. Some of these new technologies can destroy millions of jobs, while others can help to create many.
Thank you, Excellency, for your understanding. Now we give the floor to Mr. Jörg Isaac Perin Montero, President of GIP Plus, founder of SOSBCity Research Group, and professor at University of Panama. Please, you have the floor and kindly make your intervention in 2 minutes, please.
Good afternoon to everybody. In Panama, the transport sector consumes more than 40% of the energy demand, being an opportunity to optimize the consumption and reduce CO2 emissions. In developing countries with hot and humid climates, such as Panama, it is essential to understand the impact of the urban morphology on mobility and on microclimate to provide socio-technical system innovation. For example, improving urban thermal comfort, enhanced walkability, and in the urban streets are well-connected, active mobility, such as bicycles, scooters, and pedestrians, is further stimulated, reducing energy consumption and CO2 emissions. The MOVE Panama Research and Development Project studies the physical environment and the microclimate in mixed-use and nearly subway station in the Panama City to propose an efficient and low-emission smart mobility model. In the first stage, an active mobility master plan was suggested and a characterization of the urban morphology of some sector was carried out. However, poor indicators for walkability were identified. For instance, most sectors have large blocks larger than 4 hectares. It is worth noting that the ideal block is 1 hectare. In addition, the sector have a low connection node ratio. It means people need to walk long distance to reach street intersections. Therefore, it is necessary to create pedestrian corridors between large blocks through new planning instrument or new incentives. In on-site surface temperature measurement was observed the pavement reached temperatures higher than 50 degrees Celsius at noon. To create a pleasant urban microclimate for increased active mobility, it is important to focus on the relationship between building height, the distance between buildings, and the orientation of the urban street canyon. Preserve and increase the green infrastructure and building morphology are also relevant.
If you can wrap up, please. If you can wrap up, please.
We must consider the previous one to create dedicated infrastructure for the active mobility. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Panama. Now I give the floor to Okam. Okam, you have the floor, and please kindly keep your remarks on 2 minutes, please.
President, I'm very honored to be here, and for this global vision of the transformation. Monday, Professor Zuboff talked about the new digital golden age, and that was exactly the topic of our conference, InfoPolicy World Conference, with since 2001 at the UN to fighting poverty with ICT solution. And some of the solution, best practice was very important bring out. First, the telemedicine now is ready to be applied. And from the villages to the town to fight COVID, but also to assist all the people. The e-agriculture is a great opportunity because it can develop the country near to the urban food security needs. In particular, with the EVA Belt project, it's a smart program from European, is operating in 6 countries in East and West Africa, where we can apply very advanced technology to the local farmer with a great result. That is important also because it's a use of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence for the smart cities is, of course, it's a large challenge. And also we have some important solution to fight, to eliminate the slums. Slums is a very social cancer, and applying the 3D building, we can build houses 1 or 100 or 1,000 a day, because that allow to have a large offer of housing to the people from the slums. And also to save energy with the solar and other application, need also to redesign the plant from 2000 to 20 volt to 12 as is the capacity, and also to produce new tools in that term.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, President.
Thank you, sir. This was the last speaker on my list. We have now reached the end of the high-level panel. I believe that we had a very good exchange, and I wish to thank everyone for their very valuable contributions. Tomorrow, the CSTD session will start at 2:30 p.m. Geneva time, and the Commission will take up item 2, progress made in the implementation of and follow-up to the outcomes of the World Summit on the Information Society at the regional and international level. Please note that today, the session will continue with a side event on technology assessment, how to do it, which will start at 16:45 Geneva time. The event is organized by UNCTAD in collaboration with World Federation of Engineering Organizations and WomenVi. A WebEx link was provided to those who have registered for the side event. For those who are in the room, you are invited to stay as the side event is hybrid and the Secretariat will be using the room. Certainly, we thank all of you for being with us for this session. We thank you and have this session closed. Thank you.